This is Gemini Rising. So this is opposite of my rising sign. These people, you look at these people and you're like, damn, this person might look smart. This person might these people might like to read books and other stuff, right? They might like to fucking hear themselves, talk, or, they look like a person who would just run up and talk to people. Or maybe, you feel as another person that when you look at this person, like, oh my gosh, I feel like I could talk to that person about something. Or I could come up to that person and ask him some things, or ask him or her some things, and they'll be able to give me a, logical answer. An answer that is, very, smart, intellectual. Like when they speak to me, they're going to say some shit that I might not understand, but like we'll have a conversation about it, and it will be a good conversation because this person likes to talk, and not just that, they know what they're talking about too. This person also, like I said, they look like that, but that could be not what it is, and then like I said, over the years, because this is the rising sign, this is how you look, you just become a person who is more talkative and other things by default, because people always come to you asking you shit, wanting to fuck around and talk to you, because you just have that type of look to you. I see, when I see a person I can talk to, you're a person that's approachable, you're a person that looks friendly enough to talk to, and that's what that is. You might not be that at all. You might be like, why the fuck do people always come to me? I don't want that. I don't like when people come to me. I want to have time to myself. But I always find myself in the middle of, other people's, conversations or things. And then they are coming to me, asking me about shit that I don't really, know about. Not necessarily, I'll be telling them, sorry, I don't know about that. Maybe you could go over there and find somebody else. You might not be as smart as people think you are too with this, but you have that look about you. So like that works to your advantage sometimes, but also sometimes it don't. People, want to talk to you about, whatever is going on around, right? Because that's what Gemini is. Or like they could talk to you or come approach you and be like, say you're like somebody that's in school, right? And they're like, did you do that homework? Did you get these questions done? Did you fucking, learn all this shit? I think you already did the homework already, didn't you? You already, got that shit done, didn't you? You already made sure you had that shit, figured out and everything. And so your friends are coming to you asking you for, help on their homework, but you're like no different than them, really. And you're like, well, I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm still, trying to figure that shit out, or like I said, if you like have known that people have, approached you and you're a person that's approachable and you have conversations and you're like fine with it, and you realize that's just, part of your life because people see you that way, and then you just became that, whether you might have another sign and you like the moon or sun sign, that is cool too. So you actually don't mind, and you love the fact that people come to you for information, and like you also don't mind running up on somebody and having a conversation with them. You don't mind being, outgoing in that manner and telling people, well, you can go here to get this, you can, I heard that, this person was doing this at this place later, or, you're kind of a gossiper, but you don't mind that, you came, to be that after, people have, looked at you and you understand that about yourself, and you know that about yourself, and you're like, yeah, I'm a person that, likes to talk and likes to, run around with my friends or people and just know what's going on in the area. always have something to say about something, and or maybe, you're, like I said, a gossiper, and you like to, talk. You might not even know if what you're saying is true, but you just, have to say something. But, but that, is the Gemini Rising. They come to you for, conversations. That could be a quick talk or like a long talk, depending on if you're a person who actually likes conversation or actually doesn't like conversation. But people will always, be looking to you for, conversation, and it ain't necessarily fun stuff either. They'll come to you thinking you know stuff about, where things are, knowing about, different jobs, all kind of informational stuff, and you find yourself, like, damn, they never want to just, fuck around and have fun with me. They always want me to be more of that type of social as opposed to, fun social, where you, like, have fun. You go out and you drink, you go out and you go to, these places, and, you fuck around with these people, and, it ain't ever like that. But, sometimes it is, though, if you like yourself and you understand that you're a good talker and people will come to you for, information, or you yourself just like to go out and get information yourself. And you yourself will talk to anybody and you feel comfortable with it because you have accepted that about yourself. But that is somebody who is, or actually somebody who looks cool, is what Gemini Rising is. So keep cooling on the corner. You're doing right by yourself. Even if that ain't who you truly are, you're making it work, is what I'm saying. So keep doing that. Be cool, go on the corner.